All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about weighted sums and averages. We're going to talk about three different types. The first type is the grade average, being able to calculate your grade based on percentages for different categories. So when a weighted average is applied to a set of numbers, more importance or weight is placed on some components of the set. Your final average in this class is probably an example of a weighted average. Consider two grading systems, grading system 1 and grading system 2, for determining your final class average. Each system is a weighted average of measures that include test grades, your final exam grade, homework grade, and a class participation grade. So let's say you have these averages. So you've taken a couple tests and your test average is 84, your final exam test is 68, your homework average, class participation are given. So which grading system are we going to prefer, grading system 1 or grading system 2? Real quick, we're going to talk about grading system 1, and then I will just go through and answer grading system 2 without talking through it. So first thing that we got to do is notice that the averages up in grading system 1 are given by percentages. So we're going to use those percentages divided by 100, so we use the decimal form of those numbers. And here's how we do it. Your grade is equal to your test average times your percent of tests divided by 100, plus your final exam grade times the percent of final divided by 100. Homework average times your percent for homework divided by 100, and then classwork times your percent for classwork divided by 100. So let's go. Our test average is given to us, it's 84. So we're going to take 84 times our test average percent is 40%. Well, 40 divided by 100 is 0.40. We're going to add to that our final exam grade of 68 times our percent divided by 100. 25% divided by 100 is 0.25. Then we're going to take our our homework average and our homework grade, which is 90, and again 25% is 0.25. And then we're going to take our classwork times the class participation average. So 95 times 0.10. Essentially, once you put all these numbers together like this, you can put it in the calculator, or you can calculate each one individually. 84 times 0.4 is 33.6. 68 times 0.25 is 17. 90 times 0.25 is 22.5. And 95 times 0.10 is 9.5. And now we have the points associated with each weight. We add these together and we get our grade. So 33.6 plus 17 plus 22.5 plus 9.5 is equal to 82.6. And so now I'm going to go through grading system 2 the exact same way. So if I was this student, I would prefer grading system 2 because I'd get a little bit better average. Now we need to try to figure out what grade do we need to make on our final if we want at least an 87 in our class? So this is the same basic thing, except we kind of got to work backwards. So instead of adding stuff together, we're going to be subtracting things. So we take the grade that we want, which is 87, minus the test average times its percent, minus the homework times its percent, minus the classwork times its percent, and that's going to give us the final exam times the percent for the final, and then we're going to have to divide by that percent to get the final exam grade. So the way that we're going to do this, we're going to take 87 and we're going to subtract from it 85 as the test grade times 0.4 or 0.40 minus the homework of 90 times 0.25, and then minus the class participation, which was 95 for the average, times 0.10. So when we take 87 minus these three things, we're going to get 21. And that is the final exam times its percentage, which is 0.25. And then the way to get the final exam grade is divide by 0.25. And dividing by 0.25 is the same as multiplying by 4. So here we have to have an 84 on our final to make sure we have at least an 87 in the class. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing with grading system 2 and see which grading system is better for this situation. Here we go. So here, the final exam for grading system 2 has got to be an 86.7. So in this case here, grading system 1 is better for the student. The next type of weighted average is called the slugging average in baseball. When we have the slugging average is the amount of singles plus the amount of doubles plus the amount of triples plus the amount of home runs, all with their respective weights based on how many bases you touch. So a single is 1 base, a double is 2 bases, triple is 3 bases, home run is 4 bases, divided by the total number of at-bats. So you'll be given the statistics, or you will be finding the statistics and then plugging them into the formula, simply plugging them in and calculating the slugging average. So here we want to find the slugging average for a player with the following statistics. Again, all this is plugging in the numbers to the variables where they go. So let's see if we can do that. So here we have a player with a slugging average of 0.7. In baseball, however, they always go 3 numbers after the decimal. So if you were to put 0.7, it'd be right, but in baseball it's considered a 700 or a .700. And then we have the quarterback rating. The quarterback rating looks fairly complicated, but it's actually not. Percent completions, percent touchdowns, percent interceptions, and then average yards. Those are the variables that we have here. And then notice percent of completions per attempt, percent of touchdowns per attempt, percent of interceptions per attempt, average yards per attempt. It's going to be pretty obvious, it should be pretty obvious that the attempted passes are important in every variable. So I'm going to walk through one and then do a second one without talking through it, similar to what we've done. So here we have the formula, and then we said with the first 2 games of the 2008 season, Dallas Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo completed 45 passes and 62 attempts. Remember, attempts is important. For a total of 632 yards with 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Verify that Tony Romo's quarterback rating for those 2 games is approximately 113. Round each value to the nearest tenth. So the percent of completions is the completed passes of 45 divided by the attempted passes of 62, and then because it's a percent, we have to multiply by 100. And then that's going to give us 72.6%. The next thing we have is the amount of touchdowns per attempt. So 4 touchdowns in 62 attempts, that's 4 divided by 62, and then again it's percentage, so times 100. That gives us 6.5%. And then percent of interceptions, we had 2 interceptions in 62 attempts. So that's going to be 2 divided by 62 times 100, which equals 3.2%. And then the last one is average yards. Notice there is no percentage, so we're not going to be multiplying by 100. Average yards is the number of yards per attempt. So that is 632 yards divided by 62, which comes out to be 10.2. Then we take each of these formulas, or each of these results for the variables, and plug them into the formula. So we take 72 and we plug it in for percent completions. We take 6.5, plug it in for percent touchdowns, 3.2 for percent interceptions, and 10.2 for average yards. Whenever we do that, now all we have is just a formula on top we can plug into the calculator. And when we add the top, we get 1,361. And then again, the 12 comes from the formula. And when you divide those, you get 113.4. So we just verified what the paragraph said. It's 113 was his quarterback rating. So now I'm going to show you Steve Young's quarterback rating for his career. Follow along as we look at these number of completed passes per attempt, total yards, the amount of touchdowns and interceptions as we do the exact same process. So here we see that in 2000, as of 2009, Steve Young had a 96.1 quarterback rating. Guys, these are the 3 types of weighted averages that you will be tested on, quizzed on, and you'll have a small project over.